Can you say your name and talk about what you do for work?
My name is Miranda Allen, and I'm a park guide here at John Day Fossil Beds, which is part of the National Park Service here in Eastern Oregon. As a park guide, I am someone that a visitor would ask questions about their visit to the monument, about the resources here, the fossils, the cultural history, if they want trail recommendations and information about how to make the most out of their visit here at the monument. I am their go-to. John Day Fossil Beds is special to me because there's just so much history packed here. There are 3 units that make up John Day Fossil Beds, and they're all very unique. You can't find the same 2 views when you visit Clarno unit, for example, where you can see fossils in their original locations, or at Painted Hills unit, where there's beautiful red and yellow banded clay soil hills, and the Sheeprock unit here, blue basins, blue-green color rocks, makes you feel like you're on another planet. John Day Fossil Beds has about 40 million years of fossil record preserved in the rocks, which we also have one of the most continuous fossil records in the world, which makes us a huge deal in the paleontology world.
What do you love about your job?
I love so much about my job, but one of the things I enjoy most are the people that I get to talk to. We encounter hundreds of visitors every single day, and they come from all over the country, all over the world, different backgrounds, and a wide range of ages. And it's always a joy to hear the questions that they have, understand what they're wondering about this place, and I get to tell them the John Day Fossil Bed story here that, like I said, we have over 400 or 40 million years of fossil record, and I get to tell them that story and really inspire that wonder and tell them why we're so important, why they should be excited to be here, and all the really cool history that they can learn. So that if that means recommending a trail that they can view fossils in the rocks along the trails, or if I can swear in a junior ranger and get a kid really excited about learning about the park and earning a junior ranger badge, just leaving them excited about what they saw, what they learned, and even be able to share that with others and recommend that they come visit here so they can also have that same great experience.
How did you get into this profession?
So I started with the Park Service as an intern, actually. When I graduated college back in 2018, I was looking for different positions that I could use my environmental studies degree, and I found an internship at Lava Beds National Monument, which also paired up with Tule Lake National Monument. And I was there for about 9 months in the interpretation division, where I gained a lot of really good skills for interpreting material of both natural and cultural history. And with that, I was able to earn a hiring authority that allowed me to apply non-competitively for a federal career job. And so here I am 2.5 years later, still doing that, still loving it. But that's how I started here.
What was high school like for you?
So high school for me, I went to a typical 4-year school. I took lots of sciences. There was an environmental studies class that I took, a lot of history, of course, as well. And sometimes we got to take field trips to different museums. And La Brea Tar Pits was where I got my first interest in fossils. And so with that, I wanted to continue that and be able to teach others as well, because I was taught really well. So that's why I got into environmental studies, was my passion for science in school.
What are the requirements of this job?
So different requirements for the job would absolutely include being able to interact with the public. Like I mentioned, we get hundreds of visitors every single day, those of different ages, of different backgrounds, of different exposure to the resources here at these different sites. So being able to interpret the story for anyone really, so they could understand and appreciate the resource and the story we tell here, but also being willing to be hands-on, to get their hands dirty, either literally or figuratively, and just being really eager to learn and be a team member, because these different divisions that make up a national park site, we all work really closely together. And so we here at John Day Fossil Beds interact a lot with our paleontology division, and being able to see the work that they do and being able to interpret that to the public in a way that's easy to understand, which is great that we get to interact with them that closely, because not everywhere is like that.
What's rewarding about your job?
Some of the most rewarding aspects to my job include being able to really see them, that aha moment, that wow moment for them. When I give a program and I ask questions and really get them to think about the fossils and the history here, and realizing, wow, this place is really special, both as a national park site, but also just from a science aspect. Over 40 million years of history, not every park site has that, and so being able to see them really appreciate the fossils that we have here, the fact that they're so different from dinosaurs that we normally think about, or even for me, I grew up with Ice Age fossils, saber-toothed tigers, woolly mammoths, things like that. But seeing like there's so much more to a fossil and story, and so being able to see them really understand how incredible these fossils are, and the fact that we have so many of them here at this site. Even if they want a little more of a hands-on aspect to it, we have fossils that we show to visitors and they can touch them and see them, and sometimes that's what it takes, is to really be able to hold on to a fossil and say, this fossil is so important, and this fossil is so old as well, but it tells a huge story, even just that one fossil.
Do you have any advice for students who might be interested in working in the profession?
One reason why working for the National Park Service is so great is because for some of us, we get to travel the country and visit and live in different regions, and work at these different sites. So you get to even see more of the United States and even the territories. At least for me, I was born and raised on the West Coast, and so I'm very familiar with some of these areas. I had never been east of the Cascade Range before I moved here, and being able to see that there's so much more to the state than I knew, and of course, a much bigger story than I thought. And so working for the National Park Service, if you're interested in education and teaching others and learning so much about science or even cultural history, this is a really great place to do that. And interacting with the public and sharing that knowledge as well is beneficial for others as well as us as federal employees and park rangers. And one way to even start working with the Park Service or get exposure to working in the Park Service doesn't even have to be as a federal employee. Volunteers make up a huge workforce of the National Park Service, and that is one way to get involved, even on a smaller scale, is volunteering for different events at a national park, or even if you want to explore interpretation like I'm doing. Some parks have volunteer opportunities in interpretation, and you can participate and do that part-time and see if this is something that you'd be really interested in doing. Or like I started an internship during the summer season or even after college, and get that experience there as well. And even if that's what you want to do, you can apply to a federal career after that during the summer season or full-time as well, and really jumpstart into that.
What are some things you wish people knew about the work you do?
One thing I wish people knew about my profession is that we wear many hats. Of course, both literally our flat hats, as we call them, are one of our noticeable uniform items, but we do more than just talk with the public. Yes, we do, in a sense, serve as mini travel agents, recommending different places to visit in the monument, how to make the most of their visits, hiking trails, of course. But there's a lot of behind the scenes work that we do as well to really make a visitor's experience the best it can be. I coordinate our social media, so I, of course, look for the best visual shots of the park to really highlight some of our best features. I also work on the NPS app that visitors can download ahead of time before their visit. So really showing things they can do so they can plan their visit and use that while they're here. And sending brochures out to visitors and answering a lot of phone calls and sending emails so that visitors can plan their visit before they arrive. So there's a lot that we do that's not at the front desk. There's a lot that we do once we close.
What advice do you have for students trying to figure out what they want to do later in life?
One thing I'd recommend for someone who's still trying to figure out what they want to do is just try different things if you can. I started off volunteering at an aquarium because, well, originally I thought talking about fish all day would be really interesting, but I was still trying to figure out what career I wanted. And so I, of course, lucked out and found something that I really liked from the get-go, but if I hadn't, trying to find either another hobby that gave me a different experience and trying different things. And even if I'm not successful right away, still trying to find something. Volunteering with the National Park Service, if you're sure that you might want to do this, but you're still not quite sure if this is something you want to do long term, volunteering with different divisions of the National Park Service at these different park sites. There's interpretation, there's different history, so there's cultural resources, archaeology, natural resources, and of course that is a huge division in itself, working with biologists or botanists. So there's different divisions and different careers in a national park site, and volunteering with any of those and seeing I'm interested in trying this out and getting experience. And a lot of park sites are open to having them and showing them this is what we do and giving them that experience. And if they're not interested in that, then they try something different and trying to help them find where they fit.
How would you describe the working environment here?
Yeah. When it comes to social life as a park ranger, a lot of it are those that we work with, especially these small national park sites. Some parks have park housing even. The first park that I worked at, Lava Beds, we had park housing. And of course, we're all coworkers during the day, but after hours, we're neighbors, we're friends. Sometimes we had potlucks and different social events. But even the friends that I have outside of work, I did a lot of Zoom calls the last couple years. Sometimes I would drive out to visit a friend. So really finding those ways and staying in contact are really important. And so I've been able to maintain those personal relationships with friends, with family, weekly calls telling them this is what I did at work, this is what I'm doing outside of work, on vacation. So there is a work and personal balance that we all manage to find. And even living in a small town, making friends with the locals. My town that I live in, we have social events for holidays. So really blending in with the community and really being part of it is also really important. Working at a national park site, because a lot of these parks are in small rural towns. Not all of them are in an urban setting. So really incorporating yourself into the community also helps you kind of keep a social life as well outside of work. When it comes to people that I work with, we are all very close. I work in a very small park, which makes my division a lot smaller. So we connect. Sometimes we'll ask like, oh, how was your weekend? What did you do? Sometimes we'll ask about family and other friends. We know what their social life is like outside of work, catching up on different things that we have planned in the future even. And it's always something that we look forward to, and just sharing that with each other, because we are really a family here in the Park Service. And just really, and it's a very small park. Sometimes we know, we make connections at other park sites even, and that's really how we build our networks. But we're family here, especially at John Day Fossil Beds as a small park. And so we support each other, we build each other up, we share memories here, and that's something that I really value working at a small park, is that we can really get to know each other, which I really appreciate at a park site, is really being able to connect with each other, both as park rangers, but also as people. It really makes a great work environment when you connect with those you work with.